Thank you guys so much for coming tonight. It is so wonderful to have you guys here. It's been such a crazy time. It's really good to see everyone's face, even if it's just half of it. And I'm glad that we even in our small way get to celebrate Jess, because this is such a monumental milestone. It's such an accomplishment, and I really didn't want to let this, get swallowed up in the shittiness of this year. I wanted to have something where we could be in person and really just honor the milestone that this is for her, because you only get a handful of experiences like this in your life. So I wanted to gather and have some community in the best way that we can. So I'm going to start the evening off with a poem, and then I will introduce our next poet, and then that poet can introduce the next poet. It's all on the list taped to the deck right here. And then after that, it looks like we've got 5 people. And then after that, Jess will come up, and she will read some of her books, Strip, which if you haven't bought, please take one home with you tonight. They're here. She will sign them for you. And then we have a 4-minute film screening of a film that Jess and Justin and Lindsay, am I missing anyone? And Jack made, which is why this TV is on this table here. So, the bathroom is in there, around the corner. If you need anything, my name's Chelsea. Ask me, or that man there. That's my husband. He also lives here.
What's up, guys?
All right, and now I begin with a poem called A Woman Who Loved My Uncle. She must have been a wreck for his narrow hips and inky lash line, hands bigger than his frame would suggest, which could expertly render in pencil. She probably wrote cursive in her notebook, Jamin, 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 an invocation, her last name attached, ballpoint hearts and eyes. Maybe he and this girl kissed, had love, and she thinks of it from time to time, has retold it at a bachelorette or to her daughter when she asks. There was an age he was my grandmother's son, was dressed, fed supper, fussed over for picture day, whose awkward photo burns from the pages of a yearbook in so many distant homes. She doesn't know how heavy the box of ashes, how fragmented with bone, how the ocean's lapping swallowed all the silt of him, one handful from each of his brothers, one from me. Just the meager group of us gathered to say what about his 20 years spent hard on the street. She doesn't know that his body waited 5 months in the green din of the hospital morgue to be cremated. I'd assumed he was showering at the park restroom or sleeping on the mat of flattened cardboard behind Save-On, but when I got the call, he'd been dead since January. She doesn't know about his backpack of empty wallets, about the shopping trip to Trader Joe's for lasagna and vodka the week of his death. To be fair, a receipt told us that. Along with his ashes, the hospital gave us his things, a soiled backpack tagged with whiteout, portable chargers, a condom. We hoped there would be a sketchbook. There wasn't. But she must still have the drawing he gave her, folded in a hat box at her mom's house in the storage of her childhood room. When we go through his baby book, we think, it's no wonder. The last-ditch child in a marriage that bloodied my grandmother, the book has pages 0 to 7 years, all blank but for 3, as they flip crisp under our thumbs. And I think, he died in a park at 47, but he used to be a baby once in some hand-knit bonnet, and here's a picture to prove it. I remember when he dropped by while I babysat, let himself in through our unparented door with a shirtless friend whose tattooed stomach of a naked woman featured his navel as the center of her spread legs. How I shook inside, an animal as they swaggered and slurred, silver flashing from their mouths, my parents' admonition to never, never let him in as long as he was drinking. Unable to look away from the navel or the smell, unable to not find the features in his face of our family, unable to forget the paper bag of clementines and limes he gifted us one Christmas. This woman who loved my uncle, she lost touch with him, and what a joy. For he has lived a good life, is out there making money with the talent that glimmered so early on, that promising nimbus. She smiles when she thinks he maybe has a wife. His place in her memory, her retelling of that time, a warm bench. Yes, he is a lover in the sunlight there. Thank you. Next up to read a poem, we have Jordan Nakamura. Please give him a round of applause. I'm very excited to hear him read. It's been almost a year.
Happy to be here. Congratulations, Jess. All the way down there. Oh my God, how did you do this? I'm really, I don't know. I feel like this is just such a, I don't know. Like I feel like this is like such a victorious moment in this year. I feel like we've all kind of been watching Jess like create this thing over years and years, and then just to kind of see it out in the world now, it feels like, because I've never been like, I don't have many friends with like kids, and it's just like, oh my God, this is like the workshop's baby. And then it's like just, you know, the mother, where I was like, oh my God, like, you know, just like this little like heartbeat of joy in this year has been something that's been really, it's just made the year less lonely. This is like a book that, you know, I can kind of turn to in like the darkest nights of this darkest year, and then like feel held by just the work there. So please buy the book. It's very amazing, and I know that I'll be returning to it a lot. Another thing that I've been noticing is like watching all of the readings. Like Jess will read like poems that, you know, sometimes it's multiple readings in a week, and oh, should I take this off? I guess I can do that now. And I'll hear like the same poem twice in a week, and it's like almost like it's a different poem the next time I hear it. There's so much in each one. So I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to read actually a poem that I read like 1 year ago, the last reading, because it's coming out in print, and so I guess I'll just read it again to see what it does this time. But this is called Exposure. And Exposure. I abandoned the camera years earlier. I couldn't spare all I aimed to honor. Was burnt by each moment feeling like a missed shot. What I did frame was also failure. Portraits doomed to their flatness. Stills of time that still passed. Always the specter of better ways to render, to record. I ached to see a person laugh again. Just to see, and not capture. To touch, to be empty-handed, having reached. When I felt I saw you honestly, it seemed no response was fitting, was too quiet. Your face seemed impenetrable. But your arms testify to how easily the skin can scar. Up close, they are textured with accents of what seem like shadow, like a field beginning to reforest, and what is healing isn't different than what is, in the end, darker. We are close enough to taste, which means close enough to be mistaken. How at the right distance, the sweetness of sweat is indistinguishable from the fume of opened jasmine. Once, for once, I'm not too quiet, and we share imperfectly and actually. One night you say we could keep talking, or we could, and we finish the rest with our hands. I tried, as in slit into the ruse, neither chosen or even noticed as effort, though it had been, to make you eternal in my mind. It's time, too, I try to fix. When I pin you against the wall the way you ask for, and we crash as tides grafting landslip from cliffs, your eyes daring me over into night surf, or coming and going become twinned and become daylight. Like fitting the goddamn sea into a teacup, you'd said before your exam, meaning to cram the lesson. Memory also is like that, only its cup is made of air and a little bone. Each pour is a given, a spill, a given. A misfire is still a fire. You ask me what I want, what we should do. Spent and half lit, I look past you to the black and white pictures on the wall, which depict a sea of rough waves cresting with spray. Or no, a hill lined with gravestones, the light clutching onto or being clutched by shade. It is never enough to tell. This all leads to leaving. I know it, and open the same. Thank you.
Hey y'all. I want to echo what Jordan said about Strip being. Did you say it was like a heartbeat? Is that what you said? Yeah. Let's see. I lived in LA for 3 years before I entered a writing community, and I have Jess and her kindness and just welcoming me without even knowing me into the writing community, and I am so thankful for that, and also thankful for Justin for introducing me to Jess at his birthday party. It was amazing. That night, Jess, from her brain, just recited 2 of her poems, and it was wonderful. And then I got to meet Chelsea and Lindsay and Jordan and Jeremy and all of you and Megan. And anyway, so I've been thinking a lot about isolation, as we all have, and so I brought a poem that I wrote a long time ago when I kind of flung myself out into the desert for a while when I was like 27. So this is this poem about kind of like a self-isolation. And so I'm really thankful to be here and to see all of you and to gather safely. So thank you, Chelsea. Thank you, Tommy and Jess. And thank you, Strip, for being on my nightstand every night. Okay, from the laundromat. I'm writing you from the laundromat. It's all beige tile and green countertops, detergent dispensers, vending machine of snacks and Cokes, a border wallpaper of patterned socks hanging on a clothesline, and those laundry baskets that roll on wheels. And I'm sitting in a yellow bucket seat watching my clothes spin so hard that the machine shakes the whole room. I'm the only one here, and I don't care about anyone. A man just walked in and is now taking the shirt off his back to put into the washer. Dear all things holy, please don't take off your pants. He left them on, but is now walking out the door shirtless into 30-degree weather. A woman and her husband put in 6 loads of laundry with way too much soap and are now sitting on separate edges of the laundromat looking at their phones. She's watching a horse birthing video. Yeah, less talk, more action, she says to the phone. The guy in the video says, yeah, and the other horses are just curious. They want to see the baby and smell the baby. They're not trying to kill it or anything. They want to love the baby. And she says, yeah, you already said that, move on. I left as the guy said, horses always know what's going to happen before it happens. I live in a motor court built in 1950, a white cement room on the side of Highway 90. It's basically a place to park your car when you've driven too long and you need to get out and see the stars. Sometimes in West Texas, the only thing that means anything is that there are millions of stars in view and you can just tilt your head back and try to swallow them all, but you won't be able to. You're not able to do much about anything else because the land does everything. People out here walk around with their eyes shocked wide, with boulders in their mouths. Next to this highway, I sleep a directional sleep. Sometimes my body hums at night and I can't hear the highway. I live inside my mouth. The mind is a tongue. I sleep next to the highway and I just want to keep driving. Thank you very much.
I feel like there's some like magic with a K going on with these candles in this setup here. I feel like this is all set up to keep, like it's siphoning my soul energy to keep Chelsea young. Chelsea's actually 319 years old, and this is how she keeps her youth. This is so fun. I'm so excited to be here in my dress-up outfit. Anything that's not basketball shorts these days is dress-up. Yeah, I think I'm so excited for Strip. And you know, we're in this house. This it's such a cool thing also to like bless the home of a new friend with a poetry or a new friend, a friend's new home with a poetry reading, and like by honoring another friend. Like it's all very. I feel like this is a good omen for the house. And you know, you have this garden, and I feel like watching Jess write Strip and like being there from pretty much the beginning has been like watching somebody plant a seed and not know if it was gonna take or not, and tend it and water it and care for it and agonize over it and all of these things. And now to have seen it become this beautiful plant forest that it is really wonderful. And to have gotten to like watch that process happen was amazing. It was like watching somebody give birth. It was like holding a camcorder on a woman. It was literal. No. I'm just so grateful, and I'm grateful that it's out in the world, and it is this, like you said, a bit of good news in this particular year. So I'm going to read a little poem, and then I'm going to get away from you. This poem is about eating at the beloved barbecue chain Tony Roma's in the early 1990s with my mom and sister. This is called Tony Roma's. There are 2 brownie sundaes on the table. One is in front of me, one is in front of my sister. We're at dinner with our mom, who we don't know is on cocaine, who's wearing sunglasses and having a hard time tasting her food. And my sister says she doesn't want her brownie sundae, so I decide, once I've finished mine, that I will eat hers as well. It's 1997 or 8. I'm eating my sister's brownie sundae, and our mom tells me I'm not to continue eating my sister's brownie sundae, but I want to continue, though unaware that I want to continue in service of what wants to discontinue me. So I say, I'm going to, and our mom says, no, you're not. And I say, yes, I am. And she says, no. And I say, oh gosh, are you going to start being a mom all of a sudden? No, I don't. And then she brings up my weight, which is tied to nothing. What am I, 12, 13? And my sister hasn't yet entered treatment, and mom hasn't yet had the gastric bypass, and I've not yet tried to squash the illogic of craving with the taller illogic of God. So our mom pours black pepper all over the sundae is how the ordeal ends. And I'm furious, but then she's laughing, and my sister is laughing. So I guess, haha, I too am laughing. Not because it's funny, because she thinks I can be stopped. Thank you. All right, next up, Amy Ball. Dazzling.
This is very dramatic. Like it feels like I'm lording over you. I feel like Cersei. Feels such power. I'm so excited for this book. I'm so excited for Jess. I met Jess, I don't even know how many years ago, maybe 6 years ago, in a class called the Creativity Jam. And at the time, we had all kinds of people doing all crazy things. You could do kind of whatever you wanted. I was moving through space to music. That was my journey, and that was what I did. And I just remember seeing this magical creature get up, and I think it was the poem about clementines that you did first. And I was like, this is different, because we're all like moving. She just gets up there and does this piece. And it's like people didn't know what to do with it, and it was so lovely. And I was like, I love her. I'm going to make her my friend. And then I did. And I'm really just happy to be here. And I'm very excited for you and for your book, and to give you an air mattress when you needed one. And yeah, I don't know. And I wasn't going to read, but I have a real short one. It's called Birthday Surprise, November 4th, 2020. Do you have anything planned for tomorrow? You said nothing, but I didn't know what that meant. I made black bean enchiladas that night for dinner, quietly wondering what awaited. On my birthday, we went to the park with our dog. We sat on blankets and ate cupcakes. You rode your skateboard as Timber pulled you. I threw bits of cake to the squirrels. You laid down in a blanket and covered your eyes with your forearm. I said, yes, I really do want to know what is wrong. I've never felt more suicidal than I do right now, you said. I sat with you, feeling the sun on my body, listening to the wind in the trees, crushing bugs that wandered onto the bakery box. I pulled rocks and leaves from Timber's sharp puppy teeth. I'm glad you told me. There was no card that year. That was the gift. And now, Megan.
Thank you so much for having us, Chelsea. This is amazing. This backyard is awesome. And thank you so much for writing such truth. Jess, that quote, I'm probably going to butcher it, but the idea that when one woman tells the truth, it creates space for other women to tell the truth really makes me think of your book because it's so brave and also super hot and like gross and intimate and like so many things all wrapped into one. So I hope that you take this as like extreme compliment that I want to read a poem about period sex. Yeah. The highest compliment. Nightshade. She called us the morning after. Hair. Oh, I can do this, right?
Yes.
Thanks. She called us the morning after. Hair brambled into a nest. Her eyes an upshot of so what to tell us. After bottles clinked out of his father's liquor cabinet, they fucked in every room. How she broke open, forgetting to count the days of her cycle. Her hips a burst of red snarl all over the house. The sofa, the kitchen, his parents' bedroom, a trophy of defiance they grinned through as she huddled, unaware of the blood anchoring out of her. And he, as the sun rose, called her bitch for the stains on his mother's linens, teardrop shapes sloping from where she was bent over the armchair, his thick fingerprints purpling on the counter. She called us and we flocked there in this instance of mourning, arms heavy with cleaning supplies. We were led to the deepest mark of her, a nightshade, a bodiless heart imprinted on an eggshell duvet. There was something ancient in the way we circled, took a knee, and began to scrub, in the way we laughed and sang, grinning into each other, dipping rags into cups of bleach. And why wouldn't this be as natural as saying our own names? As if we weren't familiar with this kind of slow removal, as if we didn't already know how to clean ourselves out of the world. Thank you so much. And Chelsea's next?
Well, I'm gonna.
Okay. I love you, Jess.
I want to thank Chelsea and Tommy. I have so much gratitude to you for opening your home to me and to all of us, not just today, but for the many years, now 4 years that we've been meeting. I got a weird comment about my book one time from a teacher who said that I don't write about my friends, that my friends aren't in my book. But I feel that my friends are in my book because with each of these poems, I remember the day that I first shared them with you. I remember when we workshopped them. I remember your reactions to them and your notes on them. And so I feel that you're all over this book. And my cup overflows, honestly. I'm so, so lucky to have. And I want to say a little bit about everybody. So I will do that in between the poems, I guess. I don't know why I'm so nervous. I know all of you, but I'm going to read some stuff that I haven't been reading at all of the readings. So this poem is called Musos. Take me somewhere with romantic tension. I'm so tired of these lukewarm bars full of lukewarm men and their screenplays. I have always been a lonely starlet in a haunted hotel, lily white in my nightgown, a plum for a cunt and cola hair. Isn't it time we fuck now? Don't you want to rip into me against a tree trunk? You look like the kind of guy who could buckle me into his dirty car and drive me through the canyon. And when we get to where we're going, we'll have toaster oven taquitos in bed and watch The Matrix. I'm crawling up the staircase to lick the inside of your trash can. Too smart and too bored, feeling escapes me like money. My mother was never my mother, and by now you understand. I must lie with my body. A windless night in the South, Santa Ana set the scene ablaze, a therapeutic breakthrough, pet insurance. Yes, I think every odd feeling is going to kill me. If this cure lasts, even for a few hours, I'll take it. Even if we're dead, we must undress each other. Jeremy is a poet that I have known of for, I want to say, like the last 10 years, and that I've had the privilege of being friends with for the last 4. And I'm so grateful for Jeremy's feedback, for his commentary, for his humor, and for telling me that I'm not actually writing poems, but that I'm writing stand-up. So here's a stand-up poem. Ho poem. In love with possibility, I'm having a hard time leaving my apartment. Our tallest buildings are made of irony. Call it agoraphobia, but I find nary a sane person out there in the mess of cars and billboards, not on the bus benches where homeless vets sleep atop the faces of luxury real estate agents. It's Los Angeles and I'm high in the middle of the day again. Something lights up my screen, my God. Unbuttoned pants, the 24-hour diner, phone light illuminating the alleyways of the historic core, past discount t-shirt stores and prison-barred jewelers. Who's selling? Who's buying? My love writes epigrams for tea bags. I write taglines and property descriptions for houses where I'll never afford to live. We forget we're rich, drinking in the faux vintage establishments. We forget we're poor until rent is due. Was there something I meant to say as the sun set over the loft? Meaning or not, there's always beauty. My God held a promise to my lips, waited for me to inhale, take him in, let him inside my head a while. Loneliness has made me a coward. My memories forget about me. The good ones have died or disappeared. Jordan Nakamura challenges me all the time. He is somebody who I met at Antioch, getting our MFA, and I knew that I needed to bring him into our helm and into our writing workshop, and I'm so grateful that he continues to bring so much. He's so knowledgeable about art and film and poetry, and this is a poem that I workshopped for the first time with Jordan and Jeremy at my house. Movie Man. We didn't choose oblivion, but it was the only safe place. I know I'm free, but forgetful. Borderlines and narcissists attract each other like borderlines and narcissists. You have a perfect image in your head, and I have to keep guessing, keep moving through the blocking until I get it right. Again and again, my provocations keep your eyes on me. I want to do it my way, make you change your mind. You're in charge, but you can't play without me. I'm in charge, I want to give you what you want, to make you love me. He's filming a movie at a dive bar at dawn, so I'm writing poems at a dive bar at dawn. A crew of 50 people chasing out the boredom of the mundane, trying to make everything look mundane. Does the sensual have any sense at this hour? You don't want to see these men when the money runs out. I know what I'm supposed to do, but I'd be disrupting the narrative of my life to do things right the first time around. She's my friend. She's playing a role, the villain's girlfriend, only safe in the arms of drug dealers, fashion photographers, and movie men, only safe in arms. We're addicted to the possibility of being loved. A flick of the wrist, a flick off a cliff, a lighter version of whatever evil is. Evil on a diet doesn't eat in front of company. A bird in a cave or only a picture of a bird in a cave, a closed aperture. Compulsive performance of beauty is our perfect image of justice. I want to kiss the construction boy smiling at me in 101 traffic. The tall one, as I understand it, is famous. After a year, I still think you're coming up to hug me from behind in a crowded Sunset bar. To spend your life waiting is to spend it disappointed. When the money runs out, it's just me and the light. thank Lindsay Hall enough for everything that she has done for me this year, planning my book tour and reaching out, and in the middle of a pandemic, she found a way to support me. The work that she's doing with Sevilla Writers House to make writing and publishing more accessible is astonishing, and I'm so lucky to have Lindsay as a friend. I think Lindsay likes this poem. All my life's been a costume party. The night was like a planet turning on its axis, tides shifting in some seamless, unnoticeable way. So long as I have to go on with this, existing, I might as well be a trash truck. So buzzing, I took him like a small cactus fruit into my mouth. I can be this whole tequila bar, or that blonde over there in a cropped t-shirt shooting stardust through the gap in her teeth. There she is, kissing her lady's midnight hair. And there in the crowd, a man is leaning in and saying something no one will remember. Somewhere in the mob, I can hear my will to live, saying very carefully, really, you had a great time, but this party's almost over. Mallory Bass came into my life like a beam of light at Justin's birthday party 3 years ago, and I did recite. She mentioned I recited a poem from memory, and it was an early draft of this poem. Love lyric. I loved the lie, I loved lying next to the winter I lived beside the lie, lying thin and white. I loved lying beside the tides. He let me drive the winding canyon to Malibu. I let him unwind. I loved being alive the winter I lay so close to loving I thought I'd die. Gosh, what else? What else to say? I was at Bob and Lisa's house for a dinner party on the day that I found out that I won this book prize and that my book was going to be published. And I'm so glad that they're here today and that it can come full circle. And they're such great friends. The blood move. My heart has grown tired and bored about this party and is thinking a little about late night Chinese, a cigarette, and calling you to hear the ringing go and go. And although it knows all of this is bad for its health, my heart is tired of role models, wants to let loose for you, but not around this crowd of do-gooders. The heart is unmoved by yoga, and especially does not want to hear about Eckhart Tolle again. The heart isn't interested in a TED Talk about vulnerability. The heart is the least vulnerable thing. The heart does what it wants, and oh, it pities, how it pities. The heart is the passenger, the driver, has gum, water bottles, and plastic puke bags in case you get sick. Taco Bell, the heart regrets to inform you, has closed. You will have to find some other way to soothe yourself. Squeeze and relax your chamber muscles all you want. I'm in charge, says my daddy Dom heart. And in the event you pick up, the heart is mostly listening. I'm gonna read a couple more, and then we're gonna watch a movie. Amy mentioned that she would let me have an air mattress. I did live on Amy's floor for about a month. And Amy did hear me read many embarrassing poems all those years ago, and I'm so glad that you're in my life. Riding in a bus on the way to prison. Even Castaic has dull beauty, like a woman you've made love with 100 times, taking her clothes off in a Motel 6, not even looking at you. This toilet seat is cold. I want to die. I love my misery. I give thanks to it. I don't want to go to an outlet store with your mother. In California, we grow grapes in the desert. Music keeps the time. At least the birds are not bored. It's all the same, dirty wing over nameless tree. I have never known meditation to make any person more tolerable to others. You must love your misery. You must feast upon it. I give orgasms to my misery. My misery is more beautiful when it smiles. I care about everything Western, the beach, BDSM, Japanese fashion. I don't want to drive through 4 hours of farmland. The exaltation of mediocrity is boring. My editor wants to tell me he met the woman who writes poems about shitting on her husband's chest. They seem like nice people. I am sure she is very nice. The lymphatic system and humiliation, these are life's simple pleasures. I have no solution to your problems. I quite like the mess of it. You could try elevating your legs, a personal supply of psilocybin on top of a canister of coffee beans. Don't warn the house guests, leave it all to fate. My fate is the melting snow on this stupid mountain. My fate is a tingling clitoris. I'm an ugly little bush on a hill by the highway, a bee buzzing little warfare in my ear. The psilocybin and the coffee beans are Justin's. I wrote that poem, it was the last poem that I wrote for this book, and I wrote it in the passenger seat as he was driving us up to Sonoma for my work party. And there's just a lot of farmland on the way up the 5. And it pretty much came out fully formed. Like, some poems come out fully formed, and that's one of them. It was a gift. I'm gonna read this last poem. Thank you all for sharing in this with me and for being a part of my life. And Justin, thank you for this live stream and for all of the ways that you support me in my writing and for all of the snacks that you made us when we were still able to meet. And for Chelsea's cheese boards. Another dinner party. With a head full of smoke, nothing fills me up. Pears, persimmons, ice, crossing my legs on the kitchen counter. Maybe I need a woman, a motherless dandelion to rub emptinesses with me. In the perpetual dinner party of my brain, the guests are tired. They want to go home. I'm hooking them at the door with my remembers, flirting with the hostages at my all-hours discotheque. One kneeling before a toilet in a bathroom full of SSRIs. One kissing her dying father and one ignoring his call. One spread out and reading Nietzsche amid styrofoam takeout containers. One licking a mushroom with Dan or Ben or Tom. One arching on the Persian carpet, one tattooing a kite to her ribs, one sliding a fish-netted knee between another's stockinged legs. Us girls, sad and high, we never know who is big or bad or wolf until he has loved or left or made a meal out of us. Tired of being devoured, I make a model of my sorrow and kiss it. I've been waiting on my misery like a man who won't come. I used to live on crumbs, wanting to be touched, in the house where no one keeps me.